I thank you back for tuning in again. We're here with big man Trey Moses, and he's out of Louisville, one of my favorite cities. A lot of beautiful people out there. So, thank you for sitting down with me. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm good. All right. Thank you. And just kind of walk us through your career so far on the court, high school through Ball State and now in the pros.
Yeah, so I went to Eastern High School in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
I wasn't highly recruited. Um, I didn't get my first offer until the summer going into my senior year. But then between July and August, I had 12 Division One offers. Um, Ultimately, ended up choosing Ball State because of education. I was a special education major. Ended up changing it, but that's kind of what pushed me to go to Ball State. Is they have great um, education school because they were a teachers college when they first started. So um, you know, basketball wise, it was good there. I felt like I played well. I enjoyed myself, off the court, being able to meet good people and make an impact in the community. It's everything I've always wanted. But basketball wise, it was just one of those things where I had great teammates, had a chance to. They had won 5 and 7 games before I got there, and then my first year we won 21. Second year won 21. So, um, it was a chance to really go and prove that I had confidence in everything that Coach Witt was doing and was that we were going to do. I leave Ball State playing the most games, second in block shots. Um, there's a couple other things, but I'm just happy I was able to leave my mark on and off the court. And then my first year, I played half a year in Bulgaria. My first year pro,
Yeah.
and then I went to Australia, and then the season got cut short due to COVID. Um, and then I just spent this last year in Portugal.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice, nice. And how would you describe your overall game?
Oh man, I would say kind of how Jokic plays, like point center in a sense. Like I'm a good passer, decent shooter, solid finisher, good rebounder. So I feel like I kind of bring a lot to the game in a sense. And but a lot of coaches love how well I pass the ball and my willingness to share. So that's kind of who I would say I would compare my game to.
Mm, okay. Okay. And like towards your end of your career in Ball State, were you thinking of going to the league or, what was the next option for you?
Man, it was tough just because I knew, my last 2 years I dealt with injuries. I had pulled my hamstring and then had a knee injury. So my last 2 years, I really struggled on the court in a sense, and I
Yeah,
knew it was going to be tough. It's tough to get in the league. It's the best, uh, it's the best league in the world.
absolutely.
You have all these guys all over the world wanting to get in, and it's not something that I don't think I ever have not that I don't think I ever have a chance to get in, but I know it's a process, and so it's just kind of something I'm working towards, and I'm way ahead of where I was back then, so I have more confidence in myself. But if it's meant to be, it'll be, and if not, then I'll keep playing overseas.
And I know you were with D'Angelo Russell and down there. How was that? Was it
Oh, it
was it
was
a, was it a
awesome.
camp or was it just?
Yeah, it was his camp that he had. It was a 4-day camp, or it was a week long camp. I think it was 5 days. But he put on a heck of a camp for the city, man. A lot of kids showed up. A lot of kids learned a lot. And I feel like oftentimes you see these NBA players host these camps, and
They don't
you
show
know,
up.
yeah, that may just be off to the side, whatever it is. But D'Angelo was very much involved. He was playing the pickup games with the younger kids, the older kids, whatever it was. He was very, very, very involved. And then he had guys like Cat, Carris LeVert, um, Vanderbilt, and every single Quinn Snyder who's played at Louisville. Tyler Eulis, who played at Kentucky. Every single one of those guys were involved as well. You know, they took their time out, and it wasn't like they just thought they were better than everyone else. They took their time out and acted like they were one of them, and that's what you kind of appreciate. I think it just shows the type of person that D'Angelo is.
Okay. How did you get connected to the camp? Do you know him personally or?
So I kind of he's a year or two older than me.
Yeah.
He was grade wise, and so I only got to play against him once, but we have a fair amount of pros in Louisville, and then we have like 5 or 6 NBA guys, I think, and so we're kind of all connected in a sense. But I had never really talked to D'Angelo, but D'Angelo's brother is his agent, and he had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to play in the pickup game at the end of the camp the last day, and it was a no-brainer for me, get a chance to
Yeah.
be seen with these guys and a chance to compete. Um, and so for me, Karl Towns is like you know, one of my top 5 favorite players in the league right now. I'm a Timberwolves guy.
Yeah.
Everyone says we look alike too. I mean, I got the blonde hair now, but when I didn't have the blonde hair, everyone said it. But it was one of those things where I made that connection with Kat and D'Lo, and so hopefully, where I'm able to kind of put something together with them in terms of doing something mental health wise.
Yeah.
So you know, that's kind of the biggest outcome for me, was trying to do something bigger.
Right. And yeah, that was my next question. So yeah, tell us about your mental health story. I know it's a very
Yeah.
unique one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I was in 7th grade, I started dealing with mental health issues. It was like the first time I had, remember like wanting to kill myself. And it was like, it's like still, I don't understand. It's like, why? I mean, I understand in a sense, but it's like, I was playing basketball, had good friends, had a good family, was going to a good school. It wasn't like my family was struggling. We weren't rich by any means, but, we weren't struggling.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just one of those things, I was just dealing with depression and I had no idea. And mental health back then wasn't really talked about. This was, probably 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. And we've come a long way. But then as I got older, things got worse, started self harming. Still not really knowing what was going through. And it took until, um, 2015, my first summer at Ball State, where we really figured out what I was going through. We had a counselor come in and give all the athletes like a little questionnaire. And I had, I'd answered truthfully and had asked some like mental health questions, but I had answered truthfully. And it was one of those things that, I didn't think anything would come about, but she came back that next week and started meeting with me. So that was my first time experiencing counseling. So we had met, every day, not every day, once a week for a year. And then that same, time span, she had kind of convinced me to go see a doctor. And then from there, I was diagnosed as having severe depression. And so, at that point, I was like, dang, like I didn't even know I had dealt with all of this stuff and, truly didn't understand what I was going through. But it was just one of those things where, you kind of know now, that if I had known the signs back then I'd, would be in a kind of a better place now. But, that's kind of that have the story. And then I, tried to take my life as well. And, so, I had Zach Hollywood, who was one of my best friends and teammates. So after I tried to take my life, I kind of remember him being like, you can always call me, like, why didn't you call me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then when on the 21st of 2017 was my birthday, August 21st. I had all my friends and stuff over, and then he had said goodbye, like one ish, gave me a hug, said bye, I love you. And I knew that he had been dealing with some things, and he looked the happiest that I'd ever seen him that night. So I thought things were kind of changing. And then that next day he took his life. I we had the team meeting and I hadn't heard from him. And then I went to his apartment to check on him, and he had took his life. And so, I've always said, it's the toughest thing I've ever been through, but, I'm kind of glad it was me and no one else, because I knew what I had dealt with for, I still deal with now. It's been tough, but, it happens. But since then I've done a lot of public speaking, talking to teams, trying to advocate for mental health, be there for people. I won the 2020 NCAA Inspiration Award.
Yeah.
I got to talk to the community of Chicago with the Community Foundation at the All-Star Game last year, or in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So it's just been one of those things where, um, I've tried to use tragedy as a way to help others, where I could very well use tragedy as a way to kind of hide from the world.
Um. So I know you're a man of faith. So how has your faith stabilized your mental health now and help you with your basketball career?
Yeah. So, it was one of those things where, my grandfather's a pastor down here, and he's done a lot for the city of Louisville. But it's one of those things where, growing up as a kid, it's kind of different. Like, I just was there, like looking for Granny, trying to get candy from her, doing whatever I could just to
Yeah.
kind of pass time. And then as I got older, I would say faith kind of slipped a little bit, but it took kind of losing Zach in a sense to make me reach out to God. And it was like I was so mad. It was like I was dealing with my own mental health, me trying to take my life, me losing someone to taking their own life, and then
Uh,
me finding,
were you mad with God, or were you just mad in general?
I think at first I was mad with God, because I was like, how could he let all these things happen to me? And it was a very selfish like thing. Like, I was very much like, why, how could you let this happen to me? But
Yeah.
so many people were affected by Zach, and still are to today. He has a family, he had other friends as well. But it was one of those things where I was also going through stuff. I had also tried to take my life, 6-ish months before, and so it was kind of just in question, like, how could you let someone already going through so much deal with that much more? But I we had a lot of people around the country were kind of reaching out to our team and me personally. Um, but there were a few ministries on campus that had reached out, and I kind of just blew them off in a sense. But then one reached out, and I was just like, you know what, I'll meet with them. And he's one of my best friends today. We had met like every week for like 2-3 straight years after Zach. And between that and counseling, I really found my faith. And we have a lot that happens to us in life. And God never promised us that anything was going to be easy, but he promised us that we would never go through anything alone. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from my journey, is just understanding that I'm never alone in anything that I go through, because he's always there. I can feel, alone in the world. I can feel all these different feelings, sad, mad, whatever it is. But, I always have him to lean on. And so, for a big stretch, it was like, that's who I was leaning on to get through a lot of stuff. And, even when you're mad, sad, happy, whatever feeling it is, you should always show thanks.
Do you have like any tips for the listeners who are dealing with mental health right now? And
Uh,
go ahead, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, the big thing I would say is first, it's okay not to be okay. A lot of people, when they're sad, feel like they haven't, it's just like, I'm not allowed to be sad. What, like, allow yourself to feel like those feelings are valid. Like, everything you are feeling is okay. Everything you're going through, it is okay. Because at the end of the day, we would, not we, but you would rather be sad, mad, whatever it is, than not be here. A lot of people need you. A lot of people need your presence. A lot of people love and care about you. And when you're down, it may not feel like that. It may feel like the world's against you. It may feel like all these different things, but so many people in this world are impacted by your presence. And I think that it's important to remember that. And it's also important to tell the people in your circle that, because a lot of people, um, just one simple, you know, checking up on them can help their day, because they could feel like they're so alone. I remember, hearing a story about, there was a guy on a bus and this girl randomly said hi to him. He had never met her before.
Yeah.
And then like 2, 3 weeks later, he saw her again, and he goes, I just want to thank you for saying hi, because that day I was on my way to take my own life. And
Wow.
it's like there's so many little ways that we can affect people positively, and we don't ever realize it.
Right.
But I was just saying, it's important to, not only tell the people in your life that they're important to, but also to be kind to strangers too, because you just never know what, anyone's going through.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's crazy enough that a high can, spark someone's day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
For the kids who are in college or whatever, what does it take to be a pro? Because I know
Oh
you've been
man.
in, yeah. Because I know you've been in it for a couple years now, so you have learned a couple things.
I would say the biggest thing is, the first thing is being humble, because I went from a Division 1 where I got treatment every day. I had, I had it all in a sense. And then I go to Bulgaria where, we were fighting for ice bags. So it's like, you really got to be humble about the
Yeah.
situation you're in now compared to where you could end up. A lot of people think that, I think overseas life is kind of glamorized. Oh, you get to travel the country, you get to do all this, but it's a grind. It's being away from your family. It's loneliness. It's isolation. It's all these different things that a lot of people don't talk about, won't talk about, or afraid to talk about, because they're afraid of being seen as weak. But that 9, 10 month grind you're over there really is tough, and it's hard to deal with at times. Um, but you kind of lean on your faith and your teammates, and you can get through it. But I would say that, and then just kind of, um, you know, just play as long as you can. A lot of people, you know, are NBA or bust type of guys. If I can't go to league, there's a lot of good leagues outside the NBA. There's a lot of chances to see the world. There's a lot of chances to meet many great people. I've met a lot of friends overseas, who I still talk to, now. But those are probably my two biggest things, and just keep working. I would say each off season, figure out 2 or 3 things that you feel like you need to improve on. So for me, this summer was, body and shooting, and I feel like I've become a legit shooter. And then I feel like I'm changing my body, becoming more athletic, and that just takes self awareness.
Yeah.
You're not as great as you think you are, and you're not as bad as you think you are. Never get too high, never get too low, but just always stay the course, in each day, just it's a daily grind.
Okay. Okay. And you're working out in Louisville. That's your off season workout
Yeah,
place
yeah. So
or
I'm actually working now too. So I work 7 to 4 at a preschool, and then I'll have 1 or 2 workouts after. So I'm like, I'm really grinding, man.
wow. Teaching? You
It's
teaching?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, nice. Wow. Okay. For your next upcoming season, you have a new contract or you're gonna go back to Portugal?
I'm kind of waiting it out and trying to see. I think I'm gonna try to go to the GLeague and see,
Yeah.
if I'm able to get in there, and if that doesn't happen, kind of just see what happens next. But um, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's the way life goes, and I'm not gonna beat myself up if it doesn't happen, and I'm not gonna act like I'm the greatest thing ever if it does. I'm gonna just show up and work regardless.
Mm, okay. All right, cool. And just my last question, I believe. What was your prediction for the NBA finals?
I actually had the Bucks in 6, 5 or
Wow.
6. I knew that,
Yeah.
I knew the Suns were going to take game one. I didn't think they would take game two, but I thought for sure they were going to take game one. But I knew that the Bucks defense was going to probably be too much for the Suns. And then I felt like the Bucks were a better team overall anyway.
Okay, cool. I guess we think alike. I had Bucks and six as well too. All right, cool, cool. Anything else you want to say? You want to give out your info and where they can hit you up at, and your website as well too.
Yeah. So I'm Trey Moses 41 on Twitter, Trey Moses 41 on Instagram, Trey Moses 32 on Twitter. My website, it's under construction right now, but I also have a foundation called 24 Reasons. The bio is in, or the link is in my bio on Instagram. So check it out.
All right, cool. And good luck with the upcoming season or wherever you end up signing to. And thank you for tuning in once again with Trey Moses. And see you guys next time. All right, peace. All right.